Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the ordinary council meeting of today. Can we please stand, and Councillor Duncan, could you read the council prayer, please?
Almighty God, as members of the Rangituki District Council, we give you thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all the communities and the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions, and help us to work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor. The first apology I have is from myself. I have a Zoom call that I have to make with Waka Pitahi at 4 o'clock. I'm hoping that we may well be finished, or we could be in public excluded, but that Zoom call does become a priority, and the chair, if we're still running, will pass to the Deputy Mayor, Dave Wilson. Councillor Lambert, we are anticipating joining by Zoom.
Late.
It's running late. We have Councillor Simon Loudon, who is currently on Zoom,
Yes.
and Councillor Rakawa on Zoom.
And Pakitura is available.
Councillor Pakitura is on Zoom.
No, she's an apology.
Okay, so we have an apology from Councillor Pakitura. Would somebody like to move and second? Thank you, Councillor Carter moving, Councillor Calkin seconding. Just wait a second. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. I don't have a public forum today. I will ask for conflicts of interest.
Your Worship, I'd like to notify a conflict of interest at item 13.5 on today's agenda, and just notifying that I will leave the room at the discussion of that item.
Thank you. Can that please be recorded?
The courtyard drainage, is that in here or public excluded?
Well, you could probably do it in public excluded. In terms of confirmation of the order of business, I would like to move, we have Frank Aldridge in the room. Frank, we'll take your session probably just after the Chief Executive's report, so you're not sitting through
That's fine. Thank you very much.
all sorts of things.
Appreciate it.
And thank you and welcome for being here. Any other changes of order of business? No. Otherwise, we'll take that as read. Moving to the confirmation of minutes, starting page 6, and looking for alterations or corrections. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
14.
Yes.
You probably picked it up, Fee. 2 resolutions of the same, 23 RDC 065 and 23 RD6 066. They're the same.
Correct, it's just a duplication. Can we just make sure that's noticed? Thank you, I didn't pick that up. Any further on page 14, 15? 16, 17? 18, 19, and 20. Would somebody like to so move the minutes as amended? Thank you, Councillor Wilson, Councillor Maughan. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Item 7, the follow-up actions. Councillors, I'll take it, working down the list. Anything from 1, 2? Yes, Councillor Carter.
One, do we have a time frame for this?
Staff?
Yes, I can respond to that, although the person assigned is Mr. Benedy. I don't believe the action is for us to ring heavy vehicles. There's an active council recommendation for me and my staff to discourage use of the Bulls bus lane. Part of that discouragement is the updated traffic and parking bylaw, which you'll be assessing as part of your deliberations in June. Should that become effective, we will have an enforcement method, and that will form part of our response. You'll note that it's also repeated elsewhere, I think, in this paper. Forgive me, at number 11. And so we're working with technology providers to help us, should you go ahead with that traffic and parking bylaw amendment.
Does that satisfy you?
Thank you.
2, 3, 4, 5. Any other? No, councillor.
Number 10, could I have some clarification around the sentence that says carbon to be included in this review and potentially the policy?
Yeah, I could answer that too, if your worship, if I may.
Yes, I may well add to your comment, but go ahead, please.
Yep. So part of our procurement strategy and procurement policy needs to address a few items, and one of those is how we transition to a low carbon environment, and therefore how do we encourage that low carbon environment with our supply chain.
It was a discussion that I brought to council, and I highlighted, for instance, in waste management companies that now, and when we invite tenders, they need to comment on how they handle carbon. So, you know, if a contractor is saying, well, I'm going to use EV vehicles, that's some ticks in the boxes. That sort of approach.
If I add, your worship, it is an issue we wish to bring to your attention for consideration, both how we approach, exactly as his worship has said, any advantage we may give to low emitting providers, but also any local benefits for our local providers. That's not currently in the policy. So they're the kind of things we'll bring to you, and there's a lot of work going on behind that now.
Supplementary?
Yes, further to that, I wonder if it should be, there should be something other than simply the word carbon to indicate what that is, whether it be carbon weighting or carbon offsets, or just, rather than just
Well,
saying.
You could say carbon and environmental concerns and just leave it there. Because that's principally what it's about, isn't it?
Yes, and from a public perspective, reading this, I just wonder whether there should be some clarification rather than simply carbon.
Right. Would you be happy if we got staff to look at that? Yeah, whether you wanted to sort of reference it back to climate change or something like that.
I think just the word, your worship, carbon reduction is all that's needed.
Thank you.
That's
Happy
okay.
with that.
Carol, yeah. Thank you, worship.
Anything further? Councillor Carr.
8, timeframe regarding that, we've had tests were taken in January. Is there any timeline for that being published?
So the sample was taken at the end of January, so that then goes away for analysis, which takes some time. I do have the analysis with me. I've asked only this morning Arno to take a deeper look at that and provide me with some information. So that will be probably another month or so. Would that be fair, Arno?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Anything further?
I've got the floor at 14.
Yeah.
Ongoing. Any sign of signage or any outcome regarding the memorandum of understanding?
I can answer that one, Your Worship. Yeah, we actually did produce signs. Horizons were not that happy with them, and we're looking at changes that we can make to make it better. As for the memorandum of understanding, for us as a council and how we move forward, that needs consideration much wider than just that one little piece in Bulls. And that might take a bit longer before we agree on that again. So it'll take a bit of time, it'll come back to council before we progress that any further.
Bear in mind, there is an existing MOU.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
So this is just making any amendments around this particular area.
Yeah.
Seem to ignore that email, don't they?
Anything further?
Thank you.
Would somebody like to so move? Councillor Carter moving. Councillor Dalgety seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Moving to item number 8, the Mayor's report. After the marathon one last time, this one is reasonably brief, succinct. I'll take it as read and take any questions around appointments, but I would like to raise the issue of a possible car rally, the use of our roads. So we've had a request for a car rally, and there's some tabled documents going out now. What I have done is referred it to you through the Chief Executive to the roading team, saying what potential damage would this do to our roads, and the report has come back to say
Thank you.
they don't see a particular issue there. On that basis, I've replied to the writer and saying we would welcome a discussion. Take any questions or any views around this. Historically, our roads have been used for rallying, and historically there have been cases of people concerned about road closure and their ability to operate their own personal lives and businesses being impacted by road closure. But by and large, I'd have to say that they've been well received by our communities. Does anybody have a view or a question?
I have a question.
Certainly, Councillor Duncan.
I happen to agree that our roads are really cool, but I don't understand that sentence where it says sealed roads are cool enough not to be damaged.
So one of the issues is if you have a rally on harsh tyres, metal tyres, and it's in the middle of summer, you'll rip the tar seal up. But what the report is saying is at that time of year, they don't see that as being a particular concern.
Because of the heat they generate.
Well, it's because the heat on the road and the state of the asphalt, you know, if the asphalt's really, really soft in the height of summer, you're going to get damage.
Thank you.
Also, our roads are cooler
They're very
than
cool.
other places.
Councillor Dalgety.
I would be in support. Also, often schools, etc., are able to use a fundraising event out of attracting people and these participants to the area often.
Yeah, quite often we've been able to in the past, this is for new councillors, so if a major rally is going through, they have pace cars and various cars that become part of it, and we've been able to negotiate a couple of seats and usually one has been assigned to a councillor, and another, for instance, the Rotary Club of Martin have put it up as a raffle, you know, that for community use, not for the use of the Rotary Club, but those tickets sell like hotcakes. The chance to be in a car with someone of the calibre of Greg Murphy, driving faster than we'd normally be accustomed to seeing.
I'm totally in support of it, and I'm glad they asked, unlike a lot of the people, young people around here that use our roads without asking.
I'll take your point.
That's cool.
So, councillors, you're quite happy if staff do the liaison in terms of working out how this could and would happen, and obviously there'd be road closure notices and all of those sorts of things, and taping of all gateways, etc., as they normally do. Councillor Kalkin.
Sorry, just a question from previous experience of having the likes of, say, a Targa rally go through where you do have to close a road for a while. What sort of costs to council is there to do that?
They're generally met by Targa. The taping of all roads and so on, they have a responsibility. The police go through checking that that's all happened, and they've got to be cleared the road afterwards. Councillor Wong.
I'd just like to add to the support, been involved in organising these before, and it is quite a hard part to get council's approval sometimes. So I think it's very good that we've been positive so far. So,
Okay, we'll take that then as a given. And any questions around my report or the remit application process, etc.? So we have zone meeting in New Plymouth Thursday, Friday, and somebody can put a remit for a zone meeting. And if it is passed its zone, automatically becomes a remit that goes through local government conference. If you don't go through that process, you have to go through the process of signing up other councils to support. Councillor Wong, question?
just a couple of points. One is your comments about the Three Waters changes to the affordable water care. In your verbal report to us after the phone call, you mentioned that there was no change to the co-governance stand, but I didn't see any mention in your report.
Okay, so quite correct. It was limited as to what I put in and didn't put in. So co-governorship will continue to exist with the 10 entities. So I'd stress that the board that is actually making the decisions on how the company runs is not co-governorship. But the representative group that sets the strategy and employs the chief executives, etc., those will be made under a co-governorship principle. I'll go to Councillor Rokawa and then Councillor Maughan. Councillor Rokawa, you're on mute.
Yeah, page 26. It says that I'm absent from the Finance and Performance meeting, but I'm not on that committee. Is that a error?
If you're not on that committee, you shouldn't be recorded as an absent.
Yes, thank you. Can that be removed?
So, staff, you quite happy to look into that, please? Thank you, councillor. We'll make
Hold
sure
up.
and an apology to you because this is a public document. Councillor Maughan.
Just the question again on affordable water, or whatever they're calling it now. The $1.2 billion tranche 2 funding, have we done any analysis on how that's going to affect council budgets going forward? Or is that work in
Ask the
progress?
Chief Executive.
Not on the, thank you, Your Worship, sorry. Not on the tranche 2, no. We hadn't relied on that as an income stream. We certainly have notional subjects that we would bring to your consideration, but they haven't been put into any of our budgets. Tranche 2.
Tranche 2, yeah. But tranche 1 will be honoured in the budget, so.
Yeah. And we have a signed agreement with the Crown for that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Wong.
I've just got a small other things too on the mayor's appointments on the 11th. You've attended Omitani Rural Water Supply meeting, and you, in the sheet on page 26, you weren't there, so
Sorry.
it's just.
Apologies. Sometimes those things that have dropped into my diary that for some reason or other I haven't been able to attend. We try and go through a process of identifying those. Occasionally one slips through. Thank you. That's all. So I'll move the adoption of my report. Seconded, please. Councillor Maughan, seconding. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. I'll move to the Chief Executive's report 9.1. And just while you get started, could somebody move the reception of it, please? Councillor Carter, Councillor Calkin, those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Peter.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll take it as read, but I'll pause on some matters. If elected members want to come back, then I'll do so. I'll start with in section 3, the health, safety and wellbeing update. In the dashboard attached, I have my group manager here, if there are any questions on that particular report in the appendix.
Questions on that, health and safety or staff movements, 3 and 4? No, please continue.
Thank you. I've moved to section 6 for the external submissions. Any questions on that?
Councillor Calkin?
I'm just interested in the rationale around the submission for the fire levy proposed changes. Just from a perspective of not quite sure where we sit on that in regards to actually having an impact, and should we be submitting?
Can I ask Carol, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, it closed on the 2nd of May. We are still looking at that one. Straight George's away today.
Yeah, if I recall, I can help you out
Yeah.
here. This was one where the levy was intended to be used for research, basically. So R&D into materials, etc. Yeah. Do we carry on, or?
Councillor?
I guess I just have a question around, is this within scope for us to be submitting on, or would we choose not to submit?
Yeah, all things are within scope for us to be able to submit. It's whether the issue is whether it's of sufficient interest to council to justify the amount of time and staff pressures that we're currently under. But they'll always be within scope.
So we actually do intend to submit on this one. I've just looked at the other spreadsheet. So that one will probably come out to council for your review before it goes out.
Happy with that?
Next Tuesday.
The time frame's pretty short.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would be quite comfortable for us to not submit based on, you know, the fact that it's a Fens levy.
Are you wishing to move in that direction that we don't submit?
Yeah.
Looking for a seconder to that? Councillor Moore, do you wish to speak to it?
Well, I think from a staff time, the amount of effort and energy that's required to submit on this particular matter, and I really wonder if it's particular interest from a council perspective on behalf of the ratepayers.
Any other speakers?
Can I just clarify something?
Certainly.
In the spreadsheet, Georgia has said that she actually emailed the proposed submission out on the 18th to elected members.
With no response.
No response, no.
Has it actually been submitted?
No, not submitted, but it was sent to you for your input before.
Actually,
It was,
considering she's done all the work and it's pretty much ready to submit.
Well, it's being submitted in your name, you'd have to be comfortable with it. Councillor Duncan?
Can I just say it was my understanding that there was a subcommittee helping with this one, or am I wrong? That's why I didn't reply, because I thought that there were a number of councillors that were across it, and I wasn't one of them.
Councillor Calkin, there's been some confusion around the status of this. Would you be happy if we just ask that it goes back out for clarification and comment?
Yeah.
Does that seem to be a reasonable outcome, councillors? So, councillor, would you just like to withdraw?
Happy to withdraw the motion.
With a second, thank you. Right, carry on, please.
Your Worship, we move to item 7, which is the number of questions we've fielded regarding the year-long operations of Martin Swim Centre. And you'll see there how we wish to proceed with that, with your guidance in the future near the end of this year.
So this refers it to a long-term plan position, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Questions, councillor Wong, councillor Dalgety, councillor Wong first.
There's been a number of questions of extending the period in Taihape as well. I'm aware that it's an increase in cost, but I'd like it to be at least mentioned or looked at, because I do have to say we have discussed this at the very least.
Yeah.
So if it could be perhaps costed or briefly whether that's a.
Yes, we can look at that as part of the long-term plan.
Yeah,
Just-
yes,
You've got to be careful that you're not changing something that has previously been passed as an action. So
So,
was it restricted just to Martin or at that stage, or
I can't recall, sorry there.
I'm quite happy to make
if it's
satisfy your
possible,
question.
just to extend the query, please.
Yeah, it was in the long-term plan, the current long-term plan that we'd look at it in the next long-term plan, but I can't remember.
For Martin.
Yes, but I think it might have been specific to Martin.
yeah, I agree.
That was the question I was asking. But I take on board your comment.
Thank you.
It's at least checking the relevancy of it. Councillor Dalgety?
I'd just like to thank staff for bringing this to everyone's attention. I think there's a lot of public inquiry around it, so it'd be awesome for it to be looked into. Thank you.
Councillor Loudon?
Certainly support the move towards improving the pool availability. Has there been any feedback on the new provider as to how that's going?
Through you, Your Worship. Yes, we've had very positive feedback about the new contractor, the number of events that they've run, and just the general atmosphere, very positive, and the swim lessons as well. We've received positive feedback.
Thank you.
Further questions with regard to item 7? No?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move on through 8 and 9 to point 10, which is requesting my first recommendation. And this is really an error in the report that went to council in February. It was noted that I wasn't given your authority to actually sign a contract, which is somewhat important. So we have the budget, nothing's changed in that budget. It was simply an omission, and it was an omission between what I reviewed and copied and put into the system. I just didn't copy over this particular one, so I accept responsibility for that. So recommendation to Your Worship.
Thank you. Recommendation 2, this is the authorisation to sign the contract with Central Demolition.
Like to move.
Happy to move. Seconded Councillor Carter. Do you wish to speak to it?
No, I think it's quite straightforward.
Any speakers to it? Otherwise, put it straight to a vote here. Those in favour? Those against?
Just note that the work's already started.
But the work would not have started to the extent of how much you have approved in your budget. I was trying to find a balance between the urgency of starting the work and doing so under the amount of my delegation and pending your approval.
Thank you.
Happy with the answer?
Yes, yep.
We carry on, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Final one is Whangahu Hall Car Park. Self-explanatory. I note that the work has been done, but this is really around a licence to occupy as opposed to the actual physical works. And so the recommendation there is for me to, recognition 3, Your Worship.
Look, I'm happy to move. Second, Councillor Wilson. I'm not even going to add to it, I think. Straightforward. Any other speakers? Put it to vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think we move into public disclosure now. That's where your recommendation is. Yeah.
I'd like to move now that somebody move that we move into the public excluded item with regard to roading for the reasons given in the report, and I apologise to those that are streaming in. Do we have a seconder to that? Councillor Wilson seconding. Those in favour? Those against?